This award is very prestigious. It reflects the qualities of the Institute, and there are two reasons that I'm particularly excited about accepting this reward. And the first one is it goes to Elissa, who, to my mind, absolutely epitomises this institute, both in terms of her commitment to research and her commitment to public health, and I'll come to that in a minute or two. The second reason I'm really excited about it is this is the first time that someone from the Centre for International Health has won the Gust-McKenzie Award, and it's something that we've actually been working towards, and it's doubly pleasing. And given the opportunity to speak for a few minutes, what I'd like to do is to talk a little bit about how we do epitomise Burnet's mission through public health and research, and then I'll speak a bit particularly about Elissa. So a lot of you understand, and Rob and both Brendan have talked a bit about our international public health work, but I'd like to start by saying that everything we do is premised on best practice. Okay? Best practice, good research, and part of our operational planning is to actually ensure that all our work has that underpinning, all the interventions we develop, the sort of work that Rob described in Myanmar and PNG and all the countries in which we work. But having said that, we've got some very clear thoughts about research and development, and that it actually encompasses a very broad range of activities, right across the monitoring and evaluation, training and support, particularly mentoring of our staff in our country offices, engagement in policy development, and this is something Brendan touched upon there, that the Lancet series is very much focused towards policy and practical outcomes. Also engaging in Centres for Research Excellence. Our most recent is on integrated systems for epidemic responses with Ben Coughlin, who's in the room somewhere, I think. A lot of cross-centre collaboration. Healthy Mothers, Healthy Babies is probably the very best example, but there's TB, there's elimination. All the centres are involved in that. And I think one thing that Helen, I think, I'm sure that's going to reflect in the review, that we should be far more integrated in our thinking, whether it's public health or research. But also something that we've put a lot of energy and effort into in the last few years in Centre for International Health is getting funded research projects. And when I took over as head of the centre, Brendan was very clear that part of my mandate with our colleagues and Stanley Lutschkes, who's the sort of lead in our international research grouping within the centre, was very much prominent in that drive, was to actually get more funded research projects. And as we speak, we've got 24 funded research projects across a whole range of themes, which reflect both the Institute's missions and themes, but also the work that we are taking forward within international health. There are 56 publications in progress. We added them up the other day, and they range across a wide range of peer-reviewed journals. But that's something that's kind of new for international health. We're putting our focus not just on the policy briefs, the commission reports, but also into publications. I know that's something that the Institute is very clear about in terms of some of our metrics, in terms of our Medical Research Institute status. And maybe going right back to the very beginning, as you all know, and Brendan hasn't said it this time, but we are an international non-governmental organisation which distinguishes so clearly from other medical research institutes in Australia and beyond. And I think, as Brendan said, I came here 10 years ago precisely because this institute is, whether it's unique or not, I'm not sure, but it's actually very special in the fact that we were able to implement the sort of programs in Myanmar around our drop-in centres. We're able to go into the Western Province in PNG and work directly in hospitals to deliver TB care, and that's really important for us. Of those projects, they're across the whole region. They're across the whole region, and in countries particularly that we have a key focus on in Papua New Guinea and Myanmar. But it's a very good spread and bringing value to intervention and practice and public health in a wide range of countries in our region. Just in terms of our own research portfolio, it's about $7 million now, and it represents about a fifth of all our contracted work. And that's a huge change in terms of the proportion in the last 3 or 4 years. We've got funders right across the board, and I know one thing that has been critical for us, particularly in some of the shifts and changes in development funding, is that need to look way beyond Australia, and to think about ever-increasing number of new funding opportunities. This is a mistake. This is an old slide. We now have 13 PhD students because Liz Comrie-Thompson has enrolled, but again, is something very different in terms of the research profile in our institute. We've got 3 current staff, Chris Morgan, Ben Coghlan and Liz, who are enrolled as PhD students, and importantly, we're working with Deakin, where one of our country office staff, Dr Win Hanu, is now a PhD student with Deakin, but also with affiliated to Burnet. Those 12 PhD students themselves also reflect our international work and come from a broad range of countries, including Australia, but also China, India, etc. And from a number of universities as well, so not just Monash Melbourne, but also universities that we have strong links with through the China team work with Kunming, through Stanley's connections with Ghent, and also Curtin. Now, so that was my opportunity, which I was very glad to have a little spruik for the Centre for International Health, but more so, and I'm quite sincere about this, about the fact that there's a growing integration of our work across the institute, across the centres. There's a blurring of those centre divides, and I'm not going to try and second guess what the review will tell us, but I think this notion of actually becoming more and more integrated across our centres is going to be important. Now, this is a photo of our some of our fabulous women at the Healthy Mothers, Healthy Babies. And it occurred to me after I used this photo that Elissa is standing between Megan and Freya, and if I'm not wrong, Megan and Freya were the last 2 Gust-McKenzie winners. Am I right? Am I right? I think I am, yeah. They both won, yeah. Yeah, they both won, so clearly it's either a viral infection or a contagious disease, but there's Elissa. Now, any students in the audience, this is how you present a PowerPoint. You cram as much information as possible onto a slide, and a little photo in the corner to distract you. But the other thing I've also understood about students and PowerPoint is that as long as you don't read it and you're talking, people will actually scan it very quickly and get a sense of what I'm trying to show you. And all I'm trying to show you there is, not only is Elissa an incredibly accomplished person, she's also very, very humble. So when I talk to her about speaking for her, if she saw me doing this, she would be horrified, because she's a fabulous person, but she would not want to be bigged up like I'm going to big her up now. But basically, you'll see from there, not only has she got fabulous qualifications for this medal in terms of the criteria, but she's also got a really interesting mix of engagement within the institute. I mean, a lot of us, well, I'm not speaking for myself, many of you in this room are engaged in the institute in lots of different ways that we often don't talk about. So she's not only within our centre she's got multiple roles, but she's actually engaged with students. She's engaged within the institute itself in her role as a principal. She's also involved in education. And she is the founding member of the International Sexual and Reproductive Health and Rights Consortium. And that's something she keeps quite quiet, but she's very engaged in advocacy work in that respect. She's also highly respected in her own field. She's been asked to give oral submissions to 2 very prestigious committees. And she, in terms of her research work, she's led 2 reviews of young people's sexual and reproductive health for international donors, for UNFPA and for UNICEF. And just in terms of the important metric of securing funding, she's been involved in over $2.5 million worth of funding, and a substantial chunk of that as a lead investigator. And she publishes. Now Brenda alluded to her major output for this year, and there he is, Sebastian. And she's at home today, not just because of Sebastian, although I think it's kind of amusing that she's principal for maternal health, so have a baby and then see what it's like, I think. But no, Peter, God bless his cotton socks, came off his bike on Monday, and he's a great advertisement for crash helmets, because his crash helmet was in several pieces. But the other major output in terms of her work is this, and I just want to spend a minute or 2 on this report. This is the Lancet Commission. And as Brendan said, both Elissa Kennedy and Peter Azzopardi, her husband, were involved in this, and we've managed to bag Peter for he worked with us on Aboriginal health for many years. He's been around the Institute for some time. We managed to bag him for a day a week from now onwards. So we're going to have both of these kind of stellar Lancet Commission stars on our payroll. Now, I won't go. You can read this when you get time. But this study had a cast of everyone you can imagine who's engaged in adolescent health. It looked at 300 injuries and diseases. Funny enough, one of the major ones was transport bicycle accidents. But Peter's slightly between. He's over 10 to 24, but he's obviously a child at heart, which we all know he is if you know him. But there were 300 injuries and diseases. 188 countries were reviewed and over 80 risk factors. So it's an incredibly important review, a really important review, and please take time to have a look. So it just remains for me to congratulate Elissa. There she is again. That's her, the same person from the first slide, in case you didn't clock that one. So look, thank you very much. Again, apologies that Elissa couldn't speak, but we have been told that she will give a presentation at one of the subsequent staff meetings if Sebastian ever sleeps more than 1 hour at a time, which is the current timetable for him. But so she'll be along soon to give her presentation, and it's an honour for me to take this medal on her behalf, and thank you very much for your indulgence. Thank you.